your flesh and blood.
Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, new paradigms for a new world where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here 9 times a week, Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We are on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, as well as YouTube, where you can watch these conversations. I hope that you will take time to subscribe and click notifications so that when a new conversation is posted, you'll be notified and you'll be able to tune in, listen in, and learn, and be entertained and inspired. A reminder that Choices, which is my book, 5 Steps for Life, it's available on Amazon.com in paperback, hardcover, and Kindle with Audible, soon to be released. We also ask that if you can support the work that we are doing financially, we do have a PayPal account. It is there for your security as well as ours. And when they ask for an email address to whom you're sending, please go to richard@richarddugan.com. That's the email address. If you go to richarddugan.com, there is also a link directly to PayPal so that you can send us whatever support you can. And we thank you to those who have helped and to those who will help. We also ask that you take time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, to go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to that still, small voice. And with that, we now take you to our very special interview and guest here on Tell Me Your Story. And welcome to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. I am Reverend Dr. D. Richard Dugan, and you are listening to the program that brings you New Paradigms for a New World. And one of the aspects of that has to do with the things that we read. Now, of course, in my book, I talk about that in terms of personal input. Everybody has to choose their own personal input, especially when it comes to their own recreational reading. But then there are those who actually write for a living, and they spend a long time doing it. Our guest here on the program, J.T. Kelly, hasn't been writing for all that long. He didn't start. I don't want to make the comparison, J.T., to Grandma Moses. Okay, she was 80 when she first started painting.
Pretty close.
Pretty close, though. You didn't start writing until you were 70, and thank you for doing so, and thank you for being a part of Tell Me Your Story.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm privileged to be here with you.
I want to ask you, I'm going to start out with sort of a deep question in that regard. What does writing these stories, and you have a series we'll be talking about, specifically Ominous Odyssey. It's part of this 7 or 8 book series. But what does your writing do for you inside?
Well, I have always had a creative bent in my life. I was a fine art major in college, and I did a lot of different things, animated films that won some awards, and animated, and did creative things all through my career in advertising and PR. And so did some writing, but nothing like writing a book. And writing a book is a whole different ball game. If you've done it, you know what I mean. It's a different ball game. And so anyway, when I retired at age 70, I was trying to figure out what I might do. And I thought of consulting and marketing, but that didn't appeal to me after looking around. And so I decided I would write a book. A friend of mine gave me an idea, and I used that to launch my first book. And then after 5 years, I had written 8 of them. And so last couple of years, I've just been trying to expand the awareness of my 8 books and doing a variety of different things. But anyway, writing is a lot of fun and rewarding, and I love to use my imagination to express myself. So I guess that's a big part of it.
Well, I want to introduce people to the genres of your writing. Describe that for us. I mean, there are those who write songs and sing and so forth, and they don't like to be pigeonholed, but we need to know where to look for you in the bookstore.
Well, my books would probably be called mystery thrillers. I had read a lot of authors like Dan Brown, for example, and David Baldacci, and a variety of different ones, Ken Follett. And so I would say mystery thrillers. My books are not going to be found in too many bookstores. They are on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. But anyway, you can get them as a paperback, audiobook, or a ebook.
That was the next question as far as audio, and that is because people really, really enjoy, and I still call it such. They really enjoy reading. See, when I was a kid growing up, I used to listen to recordings for the blind and talking books for the blind. And then in 1979, I started working for a radio station for the visually impaired called Sun Sounds, where they did live reads of the newspapers. They did recordings of magazines, books, periodicals, the list goes on. Then when I was 21, I produced my very first radio theater. Now, I got to tell you, the only way I could approach one of those, because they could be long in not only production, but in the final edition. I just looked at it as a long commercial with music and sound effects. That was the best way for me to approach it. But this whole genre in terms of mystery thrillers, I have read a few. It's not my favorite. I love science fiction. Have you ever put together a mystery thriller / science fiction kind of thing?
Matter of fact, Ominous Odyssey won an award at New York Book Festival for as one of the top science fiction novels. It is a science fiction novel. If you get into it, you'll see that it has a time travel component to it that really makes up a good part of the story. And I want to make a point about your reading books for the blind, which is coincidentally a good friend of mine has spent a lot of time reading books for the blind, and he's a good friend of mine. And I was going to have him do a lot of my audio books, but he didn't have the right kind of audio equipment, so I've used different audio people. And coincidentally, I have 6 out of the 8 books of mine were actually provided to me through Amazon as artificial intelligence voices, and they're great. It's a pretty cool thing.
You know, I'm leaning in that direction, even as far as my book, even though I've already recorded it, but I recorded it when my wife and I were living in Santa Barbara, and we moved. And I know that when I go back and listen to it, it just doesn't have quite the energy that I would like. And I'm thinking, well, now we're here in this new place, and I'm very excited about being here and doing this and that and the other. Maybe I'll re-record it. And then, of course, someone even suggested what you were just talking about, that Amazon does have this feature. And I'm thinking, well, I could at least let them do it, and I know there's some places that actually you can have it done at no charge, and listen to it and just see how it sounds, and then go from there.
That's pretty cool, because you can edit it, and if you have mispronunciations, you can correct that. Mm-hmm. That's the toughest part, is getting the right pronunciation on certain words. They're sort of complicated.
Oh yeah, and it's
a
process of training.
Yeah. But and you have different voices you can choose. And I ended up choosing a female English accented woman for a lot of mine. I just loved her voice. I have one American sounding guy on my 8th book, but the other ones I have. Actually, Ominous Odyssey, I actually hired a real person to do it. And I don't like him as well as I like the artificial intelligence voices.
Yeah, and it's interesting how you, when you were referring to the voice that you chose, the female voice, and you referred to the voice as her. Now, it's interesting because I think this is an important thing to talk about in this context, and we'll certainly have a conversation a little bit later about the theme, if you will, the premise of this latest book, Ominous Odyssey. which I kind of feel like, I think a lot of us feel like that's where we're living in the real world today, but we'll not go there.
In a lot of ways, that's true.
Yeah. But I interviewed a gentleman some months ago, and he used AI to write his books. And I think his primary, at least the one he was talking to me about, I think it was sort of a Western. All right. And I said, well, now at the front end of the interview, folks, I have a bias against AI. Okay. From what little I know, I have a bias, which shouldn't be the case because you want to base your biases on as much information as you can. But my guest might actually help me with that bias. And he did, by the way, because this is how he described it. He says that he only uses AI for the first draft, period. And as I put it in this metaphor, so then he takes that lump of clay that AI has created and he puts it on his potter's wheel, and then he starts the spinning, and then he shapes it into the shape that he wants. I even had AI help me write a song just recently, and I'm still working on it. But I said, who owns this now? I mean, I told you the story, which took about 10 minutes, that you based this song on that I asked you to write. But does AI own it, or do I? And it basically said, no, you own it because it's your story. And I'm wondering what role, aside from the audio version of your books, is there a role that AI plays in your writing at all?
No, as a matter of fact, none of my books were AI written. I did experiment with AI for a book, and I let it carry on for 3 or 4 chapters, and just I probably needed to do what your friend did and use what they generate, what this service generated, and modify it to the betterment of the story. But I never did do that. I kind of got tired of it and figured if I was going to write a book, I'm going to do it myself. But I know a lot of people use it, and I probably have not explored it to that extent to where I'm comfortable.
Do you feel, as an author, 8 times over, and then some, I'm sure, that maybe our technology is, I don't want to go quite too far on this, but maybe it's getting a little out of hand in one sense, and that the old way or the old school, you and I probably could talk about the old school way of doing things, actually, at least from the creator's point of view, and when I say creator, I mean you, because you're the author, but whatever it is, whether it's a book or what have you, that the creator's sense of really being 100% involved in their creation, whether it's a book, a song, a sculpture, a painting, I mean, a building. I mean, there's certain intricacies in all of these different things. And I saw that 60 Minutes piece where they were using AI and robots to sculpt statuary from marble.
I'll be darned.
Yeah. And so then you sit there going, well, but is that art? I mean, is it mimic? I don't know what to call it if it's not art. And I've also heard, we have a program on the radio station that I run who she was reading this article where there are now, are you ready for this? Awards given to AI assisted and or created art.
I'll be darned. Not familiar with it, but I can imagine because it's exploding really. The use of AI for creating artwork and stuff, and it's kind of out of control in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But, some of it's very, very cool. It just depends on who's using it. Hopefully for a safe, beneficial manner for humanity.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. We're talking with J.T. Kelly, his book, his latest work that is available through his website as well as Amazon too, is Ominous Odyssey. We're going to talk more about that. His website is kellyfairways.us. Is that correct?
That's great. Yeah, Fairways is Fairways. Yep.
Good distinction. Definitely want to spell that out. So we'll be linked to that website as well as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. Reverend Dr. D and J.T. Kelly and his book, Ominous Odyssey. Now, you did make the reference to the fact that this does have as well as a mystery thriller, a science fiction twist to it. You mentioned time travel. Okay, so we'll kind of start there, and I'll ask the question, in which direction are we traveling in time here?
We are going 50,000 years into the past. Young star of this book, his name is Amos McCabe, and he recently graduated from college with a degree in anthropology and archaeology. Got a job in a real live dig site 60 miles south of Rome, Italy, in a place called the Guattari Cave. And it really exists, where they found the bones of 9 Neanderthals and other prehistoric animals. And he was real excited. And he was, after he graduated from college, he went there and he was going to have a 3-month kind of postgraduate experience. He went there, and I could tell you a little bit about how the thing starts if you want.
Well, I'm curious. There's another set of caves, and you may be familiar with it, in Italy, and I wish I could remember the exact location, but these caves were found years ago, and they were very intricate and incredibly large. And there's a group of people who have created an entire community that went into these caves. And I've seen the pictures of these. I even did an interview many years ago. I'm going to have to find that and bring that up. And they have turned the interior of this entire cave system into an unbelievable, I can't think of any other word to use than a multitude of cathedral-like spaces. It's well lit. It's very colorful. You would have thought, and they didn't, but you would have thought that the Catholic Church, in its designing of cathedrals on the ground level outside, would have had a part in this. And it is not only a tourist location, but it is also a town. They have their own currency. They're pretty much self-sufficient. They do live on the ground, above ground, but they also have this space down there as well. And I found that fascinating. So I'm wondering about these caves that you're talking about in the book.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, where they found these.
I'd like to know what that is, because I'd like to investigate.
Well, I tell you what, I will search for that and
send that to me.
That information to you. But I am curious as to the findings, because my wife, she does a lot of research online. And I also have to tell her to temper her excitement because, you've got to make sure that you can verify the information that you're getting. But she was telling me that they have found artifacts, if you will, bones and so forth, of a different form of human in terms of human-like. It's not the Neanderthal. It's not the Homo sapien. It's something else that they had that's not in, that side view picture where it shows the evolutionary progression of man. It's not in there. This is something that's really brand new.
I'll be darned.
Yeah.
New discovery.
And I said, okay, I hear you. And I'm not surprised. But then, of course, we're also wondering if maybe aliens, and we're going to find the bones, if they have bones, of aliens. Yeah, that would be something too. But in terms of going back 50,000 years, how were you? Because I know a lot of people write books. It's fact fiction. It's a combination. They'll take factual events, but then they'll wrap a fictional story around it. How did you research 50,000 years ago? How did you do that?
There's a lot of data out there, and science has come up with a lot of things that they have discovered about the Neanderthals. How they lived, how they hunted, they made fire, they made jewelry, they hunted in the sea and on land, and so they could have surf and turf every night if they wanted to. So how they what their fears were. They were very much afraid of humans who kidnapped them and used them as slaves and as sacrifices and bred with them, and probably the breeding with them is what led to their extinction, along with other environmental factors. But anyway, I agree with what you were talking about with your wife, because all of my books really are based on findings from research.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can research things and find interesting stories. And that's really what most of my books came from. And this Guattari Cave is an actual location, as I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought this would be a great opportunity for young Amos, because in the previous book, he had been exposed to archaeology and came upon some really fascinating things. And so I thought this would be perfect once I found out about the Guattari Cave. So I wrote the story about him and his connection with the Neanderthals.
Now, locations are important. I'm curious, first of all, have you actually physically been to this cave?
I've not, but I lived in Rome for a year during college and traveled all around, and I was not even aware of it. I've traveled in the areas around it, much of Italy, and I just have not seen that. I wasn't aware of it. So that was a long time ago for me.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was not aware of it at the time. So, as a matter of fact, they actually discovered this cave in 1939. A guy named Guattari, he owned this property, and they were cutting this stone that was in this mountain, side of this mountain. And he was going to use the stone for other building purposes. They cleared enough away, and they found the opening to this cave. And it was kind of fortunate for all the bones and the residue in the cave, because an earthquake had pushed a lot of these rocks and things up against it and isolated all the bones from the environment, preserved many of the bones. So 10 years ago, they actually back in 1939, they found the first bone. It wasn't until like 10 years ago they actually started studying the bones, archaeologically speaking. And so that's when they really got into it.
Now, in real estate, there are three words that are used regularly when discussing a place, whether it be residential, commercial, or otherwise. And those three words are location, location, location.
Oh, yes.
You have a location that has sort of been, if I'm correct, your muse. Now, I love being by the ocean. Part of the reason why we moved to Santa Barbara. I'm a little further away now, but I can still get there. You have a body of water that you and your family, if you will, visited, that is sort of your muse. Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah, if you're talking about when I was growing up, there's a lake in northern Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and a lot of my stories begin there. It's a place called Lake Maxinkuckee, and there's a kind of a famous military academy, Culver Military Academy. And anyway, my grandfather bought a house on the lake back in the 40s. My dad and his brothers and their families grew up there. And it just was a magical place. I didn't live there all summer, but we would go there for, 2 or 3 weeks every summer and loved it. They had, played, all kinds of things outdoors, golf, tennis, hiked in the woods, did all kinds of things, skiing. And water sports and whatnot. Just loved it. So all of my books, for the most part, start at the lake, and something happens, and there's an event that becomes international in scope. Part of my fiction, and a lot of it expands into Italy and other parts of Europe.
Very
Just part of my imagination, satisfying my own life, I guess.
I guess I'm curious because it sounds to me like these 8 books here, following up with Ominous Odyssey, as you mentioned, it's part of a series. How is it that you start with each of these books back there at that lake, or at least, in that place?
Well, it starts with a family who I have called the McCabes, and they owned this home, which is really based really on the home where my family lived. So the son, actually, this Amos McCabe, his father is Jack McCabe, and he's kind of the main star of most of the books, the protagonist. And so things just start happening there, and one thing leads to another. And the different books, in the end of the first book, Jack and his woman, her name is Sarah, they find out that she's going to have a baby. And that baby becomes Amos. And through all the books, he ages a little bit. And by the time we get to book 6, he's a teenager. He gets kidnapped by one of Jack's enemies. And then he escapes from them and goes on an adventure. And then in book 7, he has graduated from college, and then he has this experience through a time travel experience with the Neanderthals, and teaches them many things. They teach him many things. He couldn't understand anything from them, but and the small family that he was initially involved with, he thought of them as the tree of life. And so he named the different people after parts of the tree. The elder leader he called Trunk. His wife, woman, he called Root. The young woman he called Twig. The young male, Stick. And then another young girl, Leaf, and a young boy named Sprig. They were his kind of central family. They met other Neanderthals throughout. But Amos eventually started teaching Twig, who was the young woman, English words, because he could never understand any of the things that the Neanderthals said. And over time, their relationship grew and grew, and it became a love story. And over 50 millennia, they fell in love.
Yeah, we have a hard time keeping things going for 5 years, let alone 50 millennia. Let me tell you.
Well, it's 50 millennia ago, but
yeah, I know.
Anyway, good point. Yeah, hard to keep things going.
Yeah,
anyway,
I love this. When I read, whether I read with a book in hand or online, on the computer or what have you, or I'm listening to a book, and I will tell you that you mentioned Dan Brown a little while ago, and of course, my wife and I, we used to drive back and forth from Phoenix to Santa Barbara, Phoenix where we lived. And we managed to get an audio version of his book, Dan Brown's book. And we put it on a CD. I put it on CDs. And we would listen to it driving to and from. And I had my movie running right up here in my head, in my imagination. And when the movie came out of the Da Vinci Code, and I did not picture specifically Tom Hanks, but what I did picture was what that character looked like in the actual movie. It was the same as in my movie. And the movie was not out yet. It hadn't been even created. Does that happen to you as you are writing? You can see the movie
absolutely
developing forward?
Absolutely. You have to try to, put yourself into your audience's shoes and mind and create a picture for them so that they can visualize it and enjoy it. And I tried to do that, and people are a lot better than me at writing. I'm not really a trained writer. I just had enough writing that I became dangerous with it. And
Very good. Yes.
but I was so lucky because I was introduced to a woman who was a retired English literature professor, and she was willing to edit my first few books just because she liked it. Mm-hmm. And she taught me so much and kind of got me started, and revved up the engines of my writing and all the things that you have to do. And then so just kind of move forward. But you do have to be very visual, and I try to be visual as much as possible with my writing.
It is certainly part of the process. There's no question about it. I used to have a lot of fun when I was in high school, a Southwest literature class, and our instructor, Mr. Miller, he would have us write all these different stories, and you'd turn them in. Mine were pretty much science fiction, or at least fiction to that degree. And I still and believe it or not, I still have those papers. All right, they're looking old, and somehow I've got to scan them scan them into the computer so that I can get them, so to speak, in a manner of speaking, translated from my block printing or cursive into into something that I can go through and edit and clean up. But I had so much fun creating these stories. Do you have that level, in addition, obviously, to the imagination, the movie running, and so forth? Do you, is there an exhilaration that's going on while you are writing? And are you typing it into the computer, on a typewriter, handwriting? What's your modus operandi?
Yeah, I've got a laptop that I'm using right now talking to you. Mm-hmm. And I type. And as a matter of fact, I had, as you can imagine, 8 books in 5 years. There were 2 years when I had 2 books in a year. And then my books are pretty short. They're not real long. They're under 300 pages. And I type them all by hand. A lot of times I'll do an outline, and sometimes I'll wing it. I type them up. And then, like I said, in 2 different years, I did 2 books in a year. My routine was I tried to write a paragraph a day. Not a paragraph, but a chapter a day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I was really zooming along. And so anyway, so it was enjoyable, but I do type. And so got better as I started writing books. But I always typed as soon as the computer and the typing became a part of life. But it's a lot of fun. And like you were talking about research again, and like I say, all my books were based on research. In in Culver, where Lake Maxinkuckee is, there are Potawatomi Indians who have they were a major factor in the area. So I write them in to a lot of the stories. And there was a family of Potawatomi Indians who escaped a forced migration west and hid in the woods. And they became a family near Lake Maxinkuckee. And they have kind of carried on their traditions. And they had buried a lot of their dead from the past. And there were these burial mounds around one part of the lake. And at one point, where they were building a luxury hotel, some of the bones were disturbed, and it caused some problems. And the police had to go to the Potawatomi elder and say, "What is going on here?" And he would kind of advise them about, potential spirits rising up from this disturbance. So I've used a lot of kind of wild things from the past and the history of around the lake. And it's been a lot of fun.
I think that's extremely important that we find the fun in our lives, and it's you have, and I have myself, and I hope that you who are listening and watching will, if you haven't already, because quite honestly, I'm not saying anything that you need to be doing. However, what's the point of living the life that we've been given without having some fun? I mean,
Yeah,
let's get out there and smile and share the smiles
yeah,
and learn how to play with one another. That's part of the reason why we're all here on Tell Me Your Story. I am Reverend Dr. D, and JT Kelly is my guest in his latest work from the series that he has created, book number 8, called Ominous Odyssey. Now, am I correct that it was the first in the series called Fair Ways and Foul Plays?
it is. And actually, just a little correction. Ominous Odyssey is book 7.
7, okay.
Actually, book 8 is a book, and it's called McCabe Messenger. And it's actually, I kind of turned the clock back, and Jack and one of his good buddies are only 11 years old at the lake. And it's been referred to as kind of a Stephen King kind of a thing. It's got some murder and mayhem going on. It's kind of a wild, different kind of a story. That was my last book, Macabre Messenger. But Ominous Odyssey. Anyway, you started asking me about my books, and
Yeah.
it's actually an international thriller series.
And is that the name of it, or is there a name to the series?
Yeah, I call it like book 1, international thriller series,
Okay.
book 1, and so forth. So they're all part of the series.
All right. Website, folks,
It's
is
the same family, basically. The same family is woven into all of it.
right. KellyFairways.us. That's KELLYFAIRWAYS.us. And please, we'll be linked to that website with JT Kelly, and of course his latest release, which is Ominous Odyssey, or at least the one that we're here chatting about. And
Yeah.
I find it quite interesting when I discuss these kinds of things with people. Their creation. I mean, this is your creation. You have birthed this. What was the feeling like when that box arrived of 1 or 10 or however many you had sent to your home, and you opened that up? I actually was lucky enough to have my phone with me, so I set it up on my stand and I turned on the video, and I have it up on YouTube where people can say, "Oh yeah, here's my book. Oh, how cool is this?" What were your feelings?
Well, it's just a real, I actually think of my books as almost like my children.
Yeah,
You've developed them and guided them along, and given them life, and you hope that other people will enjoy your children, so to speak. It's just kind of selfish on that standpoint, but it really is. You just feel very proud of them, and you love them for what they are, and you hope other people will love them too in their own way.
yeah. Well,
Some more than others. Some people don't like them. Some people love them. There's a whole variety of responses. Some people say, "Well, this isn't as detailed as I like from other authors," or it's not as long as some other authors, or one thing or another. But a lot of people love them, so I'm so happy about that. And yeah, as far as seeing the books, as you've gone through it, you go through a lot of steps. So you see things in hard copy, and you have your cover art done and everything. So you see a lot of the way it's going to look, but yeah, the physical quality of it when it finally you finally see it is really just a real exciting time.
Yeah, I know that on this program, obviously, we talk an awful lot about how the things that exist in the world today were at one point just a thought. All right. And then we start talking about it or speaking at least to ourselves, if not other people, about it. And it starts to formulate and take shape. And someone once said that if you are looking, let's just say for happiness, for example, and we all want to be happy, but we can't be happy 100% of the time. I mean, that's just not realistic. Otherwise, we're bouncing around in a rubber room somewhere because we're happy all the time. But they said that the point at which you start to be happy is not when you have achieved that which you have wanted to achieve, whether it be getting the book in the mail and opening it up and there it is tangible, or let's say going to Disneyland with the family and you wait until you pull into the parking lot and you're getting excited because you're going to go into the park and you're going to have some fun. You want to start being happy long before that. As you are starting to formulate in your mind's eye, whatever it is that you're trying to create, be it a book or a vacation. I mean, I have to tell you, JT, my wife and I, it has been 22 years since we have been to Ireland. Now, 24 years ago was our first trip in 2002. We went back again in February of 2004, and we have wanted to go back in the worst way, let me tell you. And I think we're a lot closer today than we were, but I am very excited about that trip. If we can swing it, all right, we'll get someone to stay here in our home while we're gone for, if we can swing it, a month, okay? Because by the way, I won't go overseas, for example. And by the way, I've only been overseas twice, to Ireland. I won't go for less than 2 weeks minimum, okay? Because it's like you just get over the jet lag and it's like, oh, and if you're only there for a week and then you got to turn around and go home. It's like, no.
Good idea.
But finding happiness.
Trip.
Go ahead.
No, make it a longer trip if you can do that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, when we went the second time, it was in a sense, it was 2 years later because we went at Christmas time, 2002, and we were there past New Year's 2003. And then the following year, we were there in late January of 2004. But when we landed in Shannon the second time, when we were there, the second trip for 2 weeks, it was as if we picked up right where it's like, okay, that was 2 weeks. Now we're into our third week here. That's what it felt like. And that is so wonderful. I'm guessing that the way that people live in Europe in general, and of course, Ireland is part of that, and the UK and so forth. And you were living in Italy. You were there for about a year, right?
Yes.
Was there much of a cultural shift that you had to go through, not only moving there for that year, but then moving back to the States a year later? And have you found a way to sort of incorporate those experiences into any of your writing at present, or is that coming in a future release?
Well, I guess mostly the places that are so well known in Italy and other places that I've researched really have become part of my stories. Not so much my acclimation into from one culture to another, although there's no question that being in Europe is just so fun because it's wonderful. Everything is so ancient and has so much history. And then you come back to the United States and it's just like almost brand new. You're on the East Coast and it's older there, but the farther west you go, the more it's like this is a new world over here in the U.S.
Yeah.
But as a matter of fact, I have some siblings. I come from a family of 9 children.
Wow.
And
your folks were busy.
Yeah, they were never a dull moment. There was never a dull moment. But I have several siblings that just got back from Ireland and they loved it.
Oh.
And they had a ball, and they're only there for like 10 days. But and one of my brothers has done a lot of genealogy and he has studied a lot of the people in our background and has come up with relationships, and I don't know how many generations away, but they went over there and they met up with several of our family members, who he had gotten in touch with. So that's kind of a fun experience for him. But I'll tell you one little story. When I was kind of a poor guy going around in Europe, my last stop was in Ireland, and I was with a buddy and didn't have any money. I had a plane ticket back to from Dublin back to New York, and there was a kind of a music festival in Kilkenny, Ireland, and my buddy and I thought, well, let's go to that. And then we were thinking, well, we don't have any money, so he got on one side of the road with his thumb out going to the music festival. I was on the other side of the road with my thumb out going to Dublin. I got the ride. So we went back to Dublin, got this airline flight. And yeah, I can still remember being on that plane. And it was like, oh my God, this is technology. Leaving Ireland, which is, has so much history and whatnot, and such beautiful landscape and so forth. But anyway, so Ireland's a great place to see so much scenery. It's just elegant.
Oh yeah. As a matter of fact, you bring to memory the flight over the first time. It was actually our honeymoon in 2002, December 21st. We were married, and we flew out on the 23rd in Phoenix. It was the 23rd of December, and as we were flying over, and we're coming over. Flying over, the cabin crew bestowed upon us a wonderful bottle of champagne because it was our honeymoon and everything. I mean, we didn't plan it or anything, but it was just magnificent. And then when we flew from Heathrow to Dublin International, oh my goodness, it was just magnificent. I mean, going over the Irish Sea and landing there. It was late afternoon or evening. And of course, we had to remember driving on the left side of the road. This is correct. Yeah. Well, my wife had a plan of sorts. And although she had lived in Germany before and so forth with her first husband, and she says the rule is, the best way you can remember is you're on the left-hand side of the road. Keep that yellow line on your right. All right. That's how you remember. All right. Now she drove the whole way. She drove the entire 2 weeks we were there both times. But it just seems to me that having these kinds of excursions, no matter how long they are, whether they're 2 weeks or 2 years or what have you, changes us. And I'm curious as to not only your sojourns, whether it be that year in Italy, in Rome, but also each time you write and then release the next phase of the story, are you aware of how each one of these stories has maybe affected you and or changed you?
I'm sure that they have, because so much energy is put into every book, in a story, trying to make sure that it makes sense, that sort of thing. Oh, and just tell you a side story. I actually lived in Tucson for 3 years, so kind of familiar with that Western world out there. Beautiful area. Anyway, so yeah, I think the books definitely affect you, and you dream about them, you think about them. As a matter of fact, with Ominous Odyssey, it was so thrilling. If you read the ending of that book, people tell me how great it is. And I was actually laying in bed about ready to fall asleep. I was half dreamscape, and the ending kind of came to me, and it turned out to be so great. So some of my thoughts have kind of almost been dreamlike in the way of coming up with ideas. So it's fun.
And folks, just so you know, no spoiler here. No, the butler didn't do it. Okay. We'll just leave it at that. We're talking with JT Kelly, and his latest work is Ominous Odyssey. The website is Kelly Fair. It's Kelly Fairways, KELLYFAIRWAYS.US. And
Very
we
good.
hope that you will check that out. We'll be linked to that website as well as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. JT Kelly, it's been an extraordinary pleasure to get to meet you, to get to know you, and the work that you put out and that you've been putting out for ostensibly, if I'm correct, you correct me if I'm, for the last 5 years.
Yes, thank you, Richard. Yes, actually, this was 2 years ago. I'm 77 now, and so 5 years I created the 8 books, and people on my website, there's a couple of videos that one is an interview, TV interview about Ominous Odyssey, and there's also a little video about kind of my writing experience and whatnot, and my experience at the lake and living overseas and that sort of thing. So anyway, and there's descriptions of all my books and some reviews and whatnot, and you can link to the books from my website. So it's hopefully functional enough to get people involved.
Well, I hope they do. I hope they do. We can all use a combination of distractions from the real world, as it were, to take us to, as does in Ominous Odyssey, takes us to an alternate reality of sorts, 50,000 years in the past, and we hope that folks will check that out. Also, would like to ask you 3 final questions that I ask all of my guests. But before I do, I want to thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We have podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and you can watch these conversations, kind of like getting to know us a little bit better, because you can see us on YouTube as well as Rumble. And we hope that you'll subscribe as well as click notification. I hope that you'll also go to Amazon to get a copy of my book, Choices, 5 Steps for Life, available in hardcover, paperback, and Kindle. And we hope that if you can help us out financially, we would be gratefully appreciative. We have a PayPal account as well as Zella, and it's the same access point. All you have to do is put into either of those my email address, which is richard@richarddugan.com. And we thank you for those who have helped and to those who will help. And finally, we ask you to take some time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, to spend some time going within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listening to that still small voice. And with all of that being said, we move to our special guest and those final three questions. And I will keep it to the way I've been referring to you throughout the interview and ask you the first question, which is, who is J.T. Kelly?
Well, J.T. Kelly, in the last 7 years, has been an author. But, I would say I'm a person who has a strong faith, and I am a believer in family and taking care of one another and making the world a better place. And that's kind of what I'm all about. I certainly believe in helping those in need whenever possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's an important part of your life, is seeing what you can do to make the lives of others, a better existence. I just think that's so important.
What gets you up in the morning?
Coffee. Yeah. My wife is a teacher, and she is a workaholic on workout stuff. she gets up very early and goes to work out in a 24-hour place. And then, so anyway, I have a regular routine. I kind of go to bed fairly early. And I have to say, I watch a lot of sports. I'm a big sports fan. And, but, I have a pretty routine lifestyle and try to stay healthy. I work out every day. And I think that's very important for people to do. I work out. I do like bikes, stationary bike and treadmill. And I usually am reading while I'm doing these things. So I'm a voracious reader. I love reading, and all of the things that I read have really impacted my thoughts about writing, if I've had thoughts about writing. But yeah, coffee gets me going every day too. Like it does most people.
Yeah. Well, our final question is, what was your best day?
That's a good question. Probably the birth of my first child might have been my best day, or my grandchildren. A lot of people, I have friends that have lots of grandchildren. I have two, which I adore, and being around them and watching them grow is a big part of my day. They're just the best thing.
Well, JT, thank you again for taking time out of your schedule to share with us the stories that people can get a hold of through kellyfairways.us. It's just been a pleasure. And I hope that when your next work comes out, we'll get you back on here to talk about that. And I would be curious as to whether or not you will find a way to weave into your fictional story some of the, I'll call them factual or faith-based experiences that you have had. And that would be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, actually, if you check out Macabre Messenger, there's a secret thing that happens to victims, and there is a kind of a religious component to that. That's really the only thing where I've really gotten into a faith-based kind of a thing, but it's definitely there. But I appreciate that advice, and I'm going to have to check out all your stories. I'm sure you sound like a very creative individual, and I look forward to learning more about you.
Well, thank you very much. And if you ever have any questions, I'll be sending you an email with the connection to the channels for both the podcast and video cast. And my phone number's in that email. You can give me a ring. I'd love to chat with you, just, off the record, so to speak. And I'm very grateful to have had the opportunity to get to know you.
And also include the name of those caves that you described.
I will search for those.
Yes, you can find them. I'm kind of fascinated by that.
Yeah.
And I'd be interested to hear. I'll have to research that. It's probably out there. I just haven't looked. Yeah. Italy is just such an amazing country. But obviously you're kind of, in love with Ireland, which is certainly understandable.
Well, the old joke, yes, Europe is really very nice, but it needs paint. And with that, we wrap things up here. And I thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, love to long. Jeanette, I'm still listening. Dad, continue to be happy because I am. Smokey, I will see you on the other side. Mike, thanks for being in my life and letting me be in yours. To my brother, Michael, welcome to fatherhood, my friend. And to my dear friend, Zorro, aho, aho.